Now, if you're watching this, you're probably one of the 2/3 of Britain that are on a diet right now. And unfortunately, you're having a little bit of a bad day. Maybe you're stressed out or feeling anxious about something, or just in a low mood. Well, I'm sure it won't last too long. But I bet today you found it really hard to stick to your diet plan, whatever it is. Now, emotional eating affects a lot of people, and dieters in particular. One of my clients said in the past, when she was at work, whenever she had to deal with an unpleasant customer, before she knew it, she'd always find herself in the break room fishing on eating too much of something. And it was never on plan, and it was usually something chocolatey too. Now, early in the day, she'd be fine and be able to control those urges, but at that point, in that mood, faced with that chocolate treat, at some level that was all that she wanted. Now, there was no thought about portion control or how many calories it was or whether or not it was allowed, it was just that she really wanted it. But after eating it, although it was nice, she wished she hadn't, and she felt a little bit peed off with herself. Well, how about this? Even when you are a little bit more switched on and you try to resist your craving for that forbidden food, when you're feeling down, does it seem the more you try to resist it, the more intense the cravings get? What about this? Let's say you do eventually give in. Does that little bit of guilt that you feel sometimes turn into a lot of guilt, which sometimes turns into, well, I've done it now, I might as well carry on? Well, if it has, then you're not alone, okay? In the dieting world, one study showed that women in particular are more likely to eat chocolate when they are anxious or depressed. But the only reliable change in mood is an increase in guilt. Now, the current dieting mindset of banned, bad or cheap foods has a lot to answer for that guilt. I see nothing wrong with eating chocolate, pizza or cake. It's possible to enjoy that food without the guilt and stay in shape. I do, and as part of the team, you would too. But you see, there's a lot more to emotional and mindless eating than you think. So if you've wondered, why am I eating this? Then listen up. Have you ever heard of the fight or flight response? Now you might be thinking, yes, but what has this got to do with emotional eating? Well, it turns out quite a lot. Now, just to be clear, the fight or flight response is the body's primitive, automatic inborn response. It prepares the body to either fight or run. Now, this only needs to be triggered when we feel a threat to our very survival, which in caveman times it was pretty important. And now the fact that we're still around is proof that it was pretty effective at keeping us alive. Now, I can hear you thinking, yes, well, thanks for the lesson again, but why do I need the refresher course? Well, that primitive part of the brain hasn't gone anywhere. It's still very much active, but it's much more likely to be triggered by social situations, i.e. when we're feeling stressed, anxious, self-critical, or indeed angry. Because instinctively, we not only want to protect our life, but our mood too. Now, in our modern world, you can't really run away from your boss or punch them, and we know we can't really run away from our problems, even though we might like to. So, when we are stressed or dealing with negative emotions, at that point, our brain can jump into that fight or flight response. Now, in this state, it will automatically start to look for whatever it thinks is going to make you happy. It shifts that brain into a reward-seeking state, and that's where we can end up craving whatever we've associated with that promise of reward. And if some level, that's food, you're not only going to want it, you're really going to want it. In fact, there have been studies conducted. It's a pretty mean one, but people were placed in a room with a chocolate cake. Before and after, they were asked to think negatively about themselves, thinking about personal failures. Now, all the people reported that cake looked more appealing after they felt negatively. Even people who said that they don't really like chocolate cake said it looked more appealing. Why? Well, with those stress hormones in a bid to rescue your mood, light up these dopamine transmitters in your brain. These transmitters, amongst other things, are in control of drive and motivation. So that means in fight or flight mode, that anything that you find tempting will almost seem irresistible at that point. going to let that primitive part of your brain know that that food is not going to fix your feelings. So, first thing is done. We've built up your awareness. Just by knowing that emotional eating is not a total willpower failure, but more of a stress response, will allow you to start to give yourself a break from all those guilt trips. Now, from this point on, we can start to focus on coping strategies that actually work. Note that losing that guilt trip is going to be a key part, but first let's tackle that instinctive stress response. We'll talk about the guilt trip on another video, but we don't want to overwhelm you now, which will ironically stress you out. So, with your newfound awareness, we need to think about a week ahead and put together a plan. Think of this like being an optimistic pessimist. We're going to hope for the best, but we're going to plan for the worst. So, are there times in your week that you're more likely going to be stressed or suffering from negative emotions? Don't worry, this is not going to inadvertently put you into that chocolate cake study, but to be on the safe side, maybe move those biscuits a little bit further away. Alright, okay, cool. So let's think of these moments. Maybe get a pen and paper at this point and write it down. Okay, so what happened? Where were you? Who were you with? How did you feel? And what did you do? Now let's think, can this be avoided? Am I needlessly putting myself in situations that are setting me off? Is it a person or a particular place? Do you really need to be there? Or is that person a necessary part of your social circle? Are they really your friends? Let me be clear. Avoiding dealing with situations is not going to help us solve that stress response. But if you're realizing you don't need to be there, then don't be there. Okay, so some situations and people we know are going to be unavoidable. But you see, that fight and flight response is very much time sensitive, and it's also line of sight sensitive too. So going over those moments in the week, if it's in your control, is it possible to remove or limit those temptations? Or can you at the very least put them out of sight? There have been studies conducted where staff ate less sweets when they put them in their desk drawer as opposed to on top. And as much as by 2/3, I mean, it's not any harder to open the drawer, is it? But when it's not right in front of you, the dopamine for your brain is less likely to mindlessly munch on them. So far in your plan, you've ramped up your awareness. Tick. You've avoided what you can, and you plan to remove some of those irresistible bad mood temptations from you. Alright? But now it's time to directly eliminate that stress and negative mood. So, before we can move on to the final part of the plan, we need to know about those strategies that actually work. But, more importantly, how are you going to make them work for you? So, first, what are those mood boosting things you need in your life? Well, we've got exercise or playing sports, going for brisk walks, spending time with positive people, reading and listening to music, meditating, and spending time with a creative hobby. Now, the reason these actually work is because they shut down that fight or flight response. They increase these feel-good chemicals into your system, and these reduce those stress hormones. And once those are gone, you can feel like that rational, in-control person that you normally are. So, now let's start thinking about how we're going to fit some of those methods into your week, and make sure you choose them. Now, any of those methods mentioned will help boost your mood, thus helping you stave off making those poorer fight or flight choices. But at the top of the list, and for very good reason, is exercise. Now, I know it's not always going to be appropriate to get down and do some crunches, but we're going to focus on this now is because this strategy should help you be more consistent with exercise too. So you're going to get 2 for the price of 1. So what we need is someone at that moment of you in that bad mood to personally motivate you into action. And the best person to do that, and the only person that's going to be around, is going to be you. Now, I'm not talking about looking in the mirror and having a word with yourself, because if you're in that low mood or bad or stressed out mood, you're only going to probably beat yourself up even more, which is only going to drive you deeper into that fight or flight response. So For this actually to work, we need the version of you that's far away from that negative mood. And ideally, the version of you that's just exercised and is feeling the buzz of those mood boosting chemicals. So for this to work, we need one really good workout out of you. And as soon as you're finished, to grab your phone and record a message to you. Now, on this message, all you need to do is let you know exactly how you're feeling. You know, maybe counter with some of those excuses that you know you'll always make. And when you finish listening, for one less excuse, you can have your training kit ready for you to go. But I know if you're someone who struggles to find yourself the motivation to exercise, you can always, at the very least, go for a brisk walk. But if you do want to kind of leave those excuses behind and kind of change your mindset, then you can always find a group or a team to help you change your mindset and get yourself into the best shape of your life. Healthy body, healthy mind.